Family business makes no sense. So let's talk about it.
Welcome to another episode of Family Business Challenges. This is part of our signature series titled Family Business as a Concept Makes No Sense. And our basic proposition is that the concept of family is so opposed to the basic concept of business that they will naturally, if you put them together, result in some form of conflict at some time along the way. So what we're trying to do is explore those causes of conflict with a view to helping to make sense of family business. I'm Jon Kenfield, the Family Business Solutionist, based in Melbourne, Australia. I've been working with families for several decades, mainly helping them to resolve their conflicts so they can put the wheels back on the train after they've fallen off. Along the way, I've learned that the vast majority of conflicts in family business do not come from money. They are more to do with emotional, relational issues, and as such, they respond very much better at attempts at resolution that focuses on empathic problem solving rather than threats, legal action, or emotional blackmail. Each video in this series deals with one of the regrettably 50 common causes of conflict and counting that I've encountered far too many times over a lot of years working with families in conflict. And I'm working on the basis that if we have a better understanding of what the root causes of conflict are that have caused an entire family to end up in conflict due to a particular collection of reasons, we're in a much better position to work out how to address those causes and fix things in a way that means they'll stay fixed for the future. This episode today is dealing with emotional baggage, an all too common element in many, many family business conflicts. Emotional baggage basically describes a heavy load of toxic memories, feelings, resentments, and the like, often dating back to early childhood, that for whatever reason, and it's usually a form of delayed maturity, the person suffering under the burden has been unable to process and resolve for themselves as they have grown more mature over the years, which is what most of us do to become full functioning, comfortable, relatively satisfied adults. People who carry a lot of emotional baggage tend to become highly depressed and highly depressing in the way that they impact people around them, often extending their problems into the entire family as a consequence of the protectionism they're given by one or more highly influential members of the family, usually a mother, but not always by any means. If it's a male, then it will often be the mother. If it's a female, it's often the father that protects and then creates confused decisions and confusing messages within the family as they attempt to protect that family member with the emotional baggage. Now, a lot of emotional baggage is it's not hard to see the consequences, but it's very hard to identify the causes if those causes are effectively an emotional construct created by the sufferer. So if somebody has built on things that happened when they were a child, possibly back in the playroom, and built resentment on resentment, found reasons to confirm the conclusions they drew as immature children about the world and their place in it, and about their relationship with older siblings, parents and the like. If those things are brought forward and they haven't been dealt with, and the sufferer has looked for further evidence all their lives as part of the process of blaming the entire world rather than themselves for the fact that they don't feel happy and complete and successful, and this has not got anything to do with their level of intelligence or even their level of achievement, then nobody else can really understand what they themselves have created internally. Consequently, you find families unable to understand why somebody who in most other respects appears to have plenty going for them is so resentful. And without that understanding, there's not much you can do to fix it. So the challenge, if one identifies an emotional baggage problem, is to unpack the family's history and understand what happened back in the past, so the family can then have an adult conversation in the here and now to change the perspective, to unpack, or if necessary, to acknowledge and validate and even apologize and maybe make reparations for those events way back in childhood, sometimes in the 5 to 8 year old period, where huge resentments were developed and have been constructed from a tiny mound into a mountain over the intervening years, and we're often talking in decades. If the family is able to find a causative event that can be blamed for current angst, and if they can successfully acknowledge and deal with that, they're not saying it didn't happen, they're not invalidating it, but they're saying, okay, recognizing all of that, apologizing for all of that, doing these things and making these promises for the future, have we now got it resolved? And if we can do that, we've effectively buried the hatchet, we've nailed the skeleton back in the closet, we put the wheels back on the train, and the family may be able to move forward with some new understandings and some new commitments amongst family members. So when we're dealing with emotional baggage, one of the first things we have to say to the family is, we know that whatever's happened has pissed you off mightily, but let's understand that the person who is carrying this baggage isn't in control of their own emotions. That would take intellectual control. In respect of these items, at least, emotion is trumping reason. And so they are at the mercy of something that they themselves may well have constructed. They've made their own monster. So first of all, let's take it as serious and let's take it as real, because it is real to them. And then let's work out what will make a difference to that individual so they can gracefully let themselves down off the hook that they've hung themselves on and push aside those resentments and interact more comfortably with other members of the family who, for whatever reason, they fought like cat and dog with, sometimes for a great many years. And once we're at that point and we can start then focusing on recognizing the past, accepting the present, we can begin to plan for the future. And in essence, that's why emotional baggage is a problem, and how we can deal with it to prevent it being a continuing problem that prevents the family having a happy and successful life. I hope you found this insight useful. If you have, please pass it on to anybody who you think would benefit from it. Sign up to the series and look forward to seeing you for the next video, which will be talking about a favourite topic of people who are suffering in family business, narcissism.